Welcome back to the home studio. Welcome to the WrestleMania 42 review show here at the Stevie Richards show, which by my clock right now, it's 5:45 a.m. on Sunday, April 19th. And I'm not quite sure, but my co-host, James Romero, is going to let me know. Is Stephanie McMahon's Hall of Fame speech still going on? Inquiring minds want to know, James.
Triple H is still going on. So we can tell. He's just taking a hiatus occasionally. His was his the longest of all time.
Was Triple H's the longest of all time?
Mm-hmm.
I would have to watch the speech to know that, James Romero.
I'm not sure there's enough time on Earth.
I saw the WWE highlights had two or three different highlights of her speech at the moment, and they were all cut down to like 130, 450, some whatever it might be. But you said it went well over an hour, just about at the 60-minute mark.
We will. Right. I'm being strict here. We're going to get that on further on into this show because we've also got to talk about Gunnar Eudy, Sid Vicious' son, as well. So that's all going to be part of the whole WrestleMania 42 Saturday review. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. We are doing the quick intro because we've got hard out. It's Sunday morning we're recording this, and I'm not allowed to work on Sundays normally. But anyway, we've Stevie Richards got the cameo. Please go visit that. He's got the fitness channel. Please go visit that. I've got my personal channel as well, which I'm not uploading to today. I've done more than enough. And most importantly, the Stevie Richards Show Patreon. We're not doing any watch-alongs for today, but there will be one on Monday, usual time. Please go find the links in every video description, every podcast description as well. You'll find it just that easily, let me tell you. We need to get straight into this review here. Are we going to do what you thought of the show overall first, or are we going to save that till the end?
Let's save it till the end. I think if we break down each element of this, because it really did have kind of a theme to it that resembled a Raw or SmackDown more than WrestleMania. And we'll get into the finishes and trying to extend the heat past night one.
So, WrestleMania 42, the entrance stage. This is something that I've got a particular interest in. And where did you rank that? Because I guess it was just a load of screens with graphics on, but do you think it's good, bad, indifferent?
Well, I think they made up for the sins of WrestleMania 17. I had just reacted so huge to that because back then we did a show about WrestleMania whatever, where it was too tall and it was cut off, but they made up for that. I like that part of the set where it had like the square box truss pillars with WrestleMania on that. But outside of that, the actual reveal was very fan friendly with Cody in the ring, taking selfies with fans and showing that off. I liked that touch of the set reveal, but it felt like maybe we're desensitized with so many stadium shows, not just WrestleMania, but it just felt kind of bland in a way. Did you feel that way?
I'm desensitized by screens, but I'm not desensitized, like the physical props. It's almost like, the films. Like, you can still pick a really great film that insists on doing physical special effects, and it always looks better, like animatronics, whatever it might be.
Like Project Hail Mary had the Rocky, the Alien, and most of that was obviously the planets and everything. I don't think they flew to a North Star system. That would be really committing to the bit. But yeah, I get that, the mixture of all that stuff. And WWE, and I'll pass it back to you, WWE has been really, and I think it was the WrestleMania in Meadowlands, which was MetLife Stadium, where they pulled out that huge, like, whatever, 32K screen that just went all the way across the entire stage. And this was a little bit more, as I say, there's minimalist compared to that.
Dude, was that the one where it was Alexa Bliss and Hulk Hogan hosting, and it was one giant screen, but it was curved, and it was like, oh my god, they've gone for the curved screen fad thing.
Yeah, it was like the biggest ultra wide monitor in history.
Yeah, I know. It's like it's immersive to nobody. A curved screen's good for one person if you sat in the middle of it. I remember that very well.
Yeah, and they were about as far away as I would have it on my desk, like 20, 22, 24. It would just be, oh, you think we're washed out now. We were talking about it before the show. You put one of those screens on. I think that was it. They definitely brought the big curved screen out for, I think, 2 WrestleManias, and her and Hogan hosted one of those.
Best I remember, it was one. And I say best I remember, I did a list mania that I never recorded. And I ranked every single entrance stage. So now I've got to do another. It probably won't get in the top or bottom 10, though, this one. This was kind of just like a middling. Kind of like this WrestleMania, kind of middling.
That's what I mean. It felt very, and I don't know if it's like I said, this could be a theme of being so spoiled by so many huge sets and huge screens and stages and all that stuff. But also at the same point, like, where do you rank? This is where I'm curious. Not the best, but what's the worst WrestleMania set ever?
Oh, well, you can't have 1 and 2 and 3. You mean discounting the originals?
Yeah, I would say that because it wasn't technically a set for any of those. But as
Oh
far as entrance
man,
set, even though 3 was awesome because it had
had the
the little
canopy.
rings that the carts that took you to and from the ring.
Yeah, but it did have the most minimal of sets. Had a little canopy with a logo on top. That, like, it was practically no shots, apart from a couple of aerial ones.
Yeah, they had they kind of brought that back. We have very minimalist sets, including WrestleMania 7, 8, even 6. I mean,
8
it
was
had a long.
amazing. What are you talking about? That was the first debut of the neon. You remember the
No,
neon
but
one
I
that always
like,
used to be on
but
the
I'm
Wrestling
talking about
Challenge?
was minimalist. Yeah, the
It's
arch, the
brilliant,
McDonald's
that
arch.
one. Yeah, do you know what the worst ones were? 11, 12, 13. They were all the same. They were just like a bit of cardboard cut out, and then they just replaced the WrestleMania number at the top.
Although they did add a little touch to the third team when Austin had the glass breaking when he came out for the match with Pratt.
They did
To
that,
the
but
minute.
if they could do that with every single person coming out, I might have had a different opinion of it.
That's true. I may be the old head in this, but when you talk about those kinds of sets, I'm like, yeah, they got a little bit more heart and soul and spirit to them. That would be my opinion.
Yeah, I think 7 wasn't too bad because it had the American theme to it. 8 was brilliant because that was the debut of the neon, almost neo. You know what I mean? Like almost like the Roman neon lights columns thing going on with it, and they used that for some Raws. I think they used it for Challenge mostly, but I love that entrance.
Yeah, and then they had the screens when they started the mini Titantron that would kind of populate in little squares. I remember when Brett came out and they
Mhm.
had that kind of populate either randomly or straight across. But yeah, that arch, the neon arch, actually, I think was a kind of a synchronicity type thing. Remember with the WWF logo would come in with the star trails, and then it would be the neon writing onto the logo. Pretty
Mhm.
cool stuff.
Oh, I love
That
it.
attention to detail, I don't feel like is there anymore.
Let's stop talking about things we like. Let's get into WrestleMania 42. Now, I won't say it was a bad show. I won't say it was a great show. It's just somewhere in the middle. I kind of feel that most people are thinking this one. John Cena is the host. His nut right. Okay, I've been reading a book to my daughter called Nut Brown Hair, and I was just looking at John Cena's hair and just thinking nut brown hair. Him and Dave Meltzer have got the same dye job going on now. Cena's almost at the point now where he's got like the Paul McCartney thing. Whereas, do you just continue dyeing your hair brown for decades, or at some point do you just let go and admit you're grey?
I'm not quite sure. My wife pulls my gray hairs out. I have some stringers that are here. So if you think that, like, I would probably have the Kevin Nash when he had long hair with the gray and call myself the Silver Fox. But yeah, it's yeah, the Cena thing. I just feel like if we go to SmackDown just real quick, the fact that like the two top baby faces and champions in the company are both wearing like very expensive. Like you couldn't be bigger disconnects from the middle class or anything. As CM Punk, the voice of the voiceless, wearing a suit that ranks up with Cody, and I feel that way kind of about Cena coming out dressed like that. Did you feel like it should at
He's done
least
it for
come
too
out?
long now. He's done it for way too long. Thing is, he's got his suit game down now because the first few years he was wearing suits. They were kind of like, David Byrne suits. They were always too big for him.
I think he was shopping at the same place Vince did. Like they
Hmm.
went out suit shopping together.
Here's a really deep cut for you. If you remember Abe's Odyssey and Abe's Exodus, they used to have these like these head boss kind of things where like the suit was fake, but the suit kind of came out like a triangle at the top and then tapered to a point at the bottom, and then they
Like
shuffled
shoulder
along.
pads. Like
Yeah, yeah,
shoulder
yeah.
pads on the suits.
Yeah. Right, let's get to the first match. Oh, he welcomes us. Can I just say that Cena comes out twice as the host, and both times he is specifically there to address the hardcore fans. You know what I mean? He says two things. The second time he comes out and announces the attendance. There's been much speculation about this attendance. And then this one, he's like, this WrestleMania build has been very polarizing. And Triple H and Nick Khan and stuff and say, we don't pay attention to it. All they do is pay attention to the internet.
It sure feels that way.
Even like local Las Vegas News did a piece on the tickets being disappointing. In theory, I mean, 50,000 a night is amazing, and the amount they're charging, they may still actually break a box office record. But like when WWE say that they are not paying attention, they are doing nothing but pay attention.
That was my favorite news article since the last time the morning shows and the news articles said WWE body slamming their way into town. Oh, ticket sales are being body slammed. I can't wait for the night 2 to have the suplex attendance. These local, can they ever get out of their own way?
Oh God, no! Do you know what my favorite one is? Jesus loves you, brother.
That's right up there. That's for the new. That's for the kids.
All right, so let's get to the first match: the Usos and LA Knight versus The Vision and IShowSpeed.
Number one, I didn't know The Vision still existed, so this was news to me right off the bat.
It's been whittled down. It's been added to. Again, though, at least.
This is like EV2 levels. Everybody dispersing and everything. Like me, the two guys that are left are like Dreamer and myself and still wearing EV2 shirts.
This is very much like it's like a teenage horror film. They were getting picked off one by one. But yes, doggedly determined.
Yeah, this is like a final. Maybe they will come out with Final Destination because all the WWE guys seem to be in movies as of late, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, I definitely was interested to see IShowSpeed interact not only with Logan Paul, but actually the full-time wrestlers. And spoiler on that, Logan Paul and IShowSpeed did a really good job in this match.
How do you think that the match was laid out as far as letting IShowSpeed do stuff? Because he's obviously in great shape and he's obviously half the size of everybody else. It's not like he did anything. I think he did one move and then like LA Knight just popped right back up. Yeah,
didn't he do he did some move where he bumped him and then LA Knight came up and no-sold that move there. I feel like once again, they talk about the length of the matches and the amount of matches on these PLEs or TVs, but it felt like more than an opener, and especially the finish, an opening match with a table bump, and then you go from there to a match that's supposed to be something that involves tables and weapons and everything, because right after this one was the Jacob Fatu match with Drew.
Indeed.
So, yeah, I mean, the way it was laid out, it showcased everything that needed to be showcased. And, of course, I don't know when they did it, if it was before this match, cutting to Stephen A. Smith and George Kittle, the celebrities in attendance. I don't know if it was before this match or during the entrances. It all kind of ran together.
Stephen A. Smith was after the IShowSpeed match.
Okay. And before the day, but it was it was laid out like a 6-man tag that went just a little bit too long, involved a little bit too much with that. And of course, way too much with the table bump and the aftermath. There was lots of aftermath to matches. Have you noticed that during this?
It's funny. I thought it didn't go long enough. I thought it was quite nippy, this match. I was expecting it to go 3, 4, 5 minutes longer.
Well, maybe because of what they tried to squeeze in there, and the aftermath counted with that is what I'm talking about. The entire opening segment.
What do you think of IShowSpeed as far as acquitting himself decently? Because he wasn't. I think with celebrities in WWE, I'm so used to the idea of, they're going in and they're basically as good as, the full-time wrestler. Logan Paul's his own beast, obviously, but Pat McAfee, Bad Bunny, etc. And I thought, oh my God, they're going to do it with IShowSpeed now. And they didn't.
It felt like IShowSpeed really does, and I don't know him, and I know he's a huge presence on social media and YouTube, but at the same time, I felt like he had some kind of respect for the business and kind of knew his place in the match. Did it feel that way to you? It didn't feel like he was trying too hard to be a wrestler. He was just trying to be the best version of an outsider coming into this match.
Yeah, he was wrestling like Jimmy Hart almost. I've got a headlock, and then obviously immediately falls apart
Very
from there.
Memphis-y, wasn't it? It was like Andy Kaufman and Jerry Lawler.
But that's good. That's a compliment. Absolutely,
No,
that's a
no,
compliment.
there's no insult to anybody who worked this. Everybody worked hard, knew their place. What I'm saying is the aftermath and a table bump and the opening of this, especially when you have there was lots of like back-to-back similar matches, like 2 women's matches in a row, but in this way, you ended with a high point of violence with a table bump, and then I feel like it may have muted the next match's, like, consequences of violence with that.
Yeah, this was one of 4 announce table segments throughout the deal. So it's kind of, I know exactly what you mean. It's like they did it in the first, they did it in the second, they did it twice in the main event. They may have done it one more time that I missed.
The only thing I would say is they kinda, quote, "reinforced the tables" where it wasn't going to break as the night went on. There's a little minute attention to detail when it comes to that. Need to reinforce the tables because people keep putting people through tables.
The table got more Japanese as the night went on. It became stronger. It got rebuilt and then became a bit more reinforced every time. It's like
It
a Pokemon evolving.
it was screaming, "I am the table" on everything, so shout out to Botcha according to people who were in Botchamania a lot, I guess, with the what went wrongs.
Are we?
I don't know, I haven't watched it in a while.
Okay, I'll give you a couple of things. Speed does basic stuff. LA Knight sells it, and Show escapes quickly, tags out. There's a thing where Austin Theory blind tags him without holding the tag rope. I want your opinion on this. Does a tag count if you blind tag someone's back?
Yeah, he went to the middle of the ring for that blind tag. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he didn't
He might as well
care.
have tagged. He might as well have tagged in the Usos. He was that far away.
You might as well when someone powdered, somebody just come right back in Lucha Libre style or
Mm.
something. But yeah, I that's such a minute thing as well, but it means a lot if you pay attention. You know, the heel with the blind tag is enough to outsmart or get a little bit of an advantage to start the heat. But the fact that you were, and I have no doubt, are we going back into 6 months of talent meetings about the tag rope? Because there's no house shows to really beat it over the head on anybody. But yeah, that's something doesn't bother me. Not really, because they at least stuck tight to the hard cam where you didn't see. But man, you would have to have either a tag rope that was a good 6 feet long or a guy that was Mr. Fantastic from Fantastic Four to get that tag.
One of the worst games ever played, ever. PlayStation 1, Fantastic Four. An absolute rotter. It was broken. So if you want to ever see, if you want to play a game that's just broken, try that one. Speed does a couple of reversals in desperation. Ultimately looks stupid, but in a good way. I mean, costs his team the match by hesitating. LA Knight then hits a BFT on Theory for the win. Post-match, Logan knocks out Speed, and then Logan immediately clears off the announce table. And then Paul does the top rope dive to the table, but then the Usos kind of stop him. And Usos sort of hit the 1D, but I don't know where Jimmy was at all. Was it Jimmy who was hitting it? You know, the neck break portion of it. He was nowhere near his head. He completely missed it.
It was kind of like a warning on D.
Yeah.
Like next time we're really gonna get you with it.
Yeah, 0.5 D. And then Speed does his top rope to the announce table dive onto Logan Paul. Now, I understand for 2 reasons why this was the first match. 1, because it's a quick 6-man. You want to get the people up and everything. And 2, it's on ESPN, which is, simulcast the first hour. So you want to get, I guess, the celebrity and stuff, and you want to have that big moment. But that also goes to your point with the announce table. It's like, well, we've done the announce table now, but everyone else is doing the announce table afterwards.
Yeah, I also feel like, yeah, that's a great point. And everybody knew their place in this match. The only person I really felt bad for, once again, is LA Knight. Like he should be doing much, much more, and he's relegated. And we're going to talk about it's going to be the same thing with Gunther, with momentum that possibly got lost with this match kind of thrown together. But I can see that. I can see the marketing of let's really hit them with the best hits, the celebrities, a match that seems fun, and maybe we're going to convert some last minute subscribers. That's what the first hour really was supposed to do, correct? It's
Yeah,
convert people over to say, yeah, let me subscribe $30 and get the other 17 hours as I simulcast Stephanie's Hall of Fame speech.
that went longer. Celebs in attendance, NFL and NBA types, Stephen A. Smith. Right, I presume, I know he's like a big star on whatever he is ESPN, I guess. Why is he so hated? And 2, why is he reacting like he's like some major sports star when he's like a professional opinion giver?
You may have actually just answered your own question about why he's so hated. That
That
smirk
that'll be
and
it.
that look of, yeah, the Duper's delight or whatever, the Cheshire Cat. He's hated because he comes from an era. I don't know if he's as hated as Skip Bayless. It might be even the American sports debate commentators, especially from people that have never done it, was such a trend that these guys cashed in tens, if not $100 million. Their deals, were so that Skip Bayless kind of like with cold pizza on ESPN2 way, way back, started that debate type thing of always having, and it's a work. That Max Kellerman, who basically Stephen A. Smith never could be outshined. Stephen A. Smith is the Triple H of ESPN and sports debates. If you can beat him in debates or come with basic facts that can counter him, oh, you're gone, brother. That doesn't work for me, brother. He's the original. That doesn't work for me, brother. But that's why he's so hated. And that sports debate stuff where they produce different opinions artificially is is starting to play itself out. But this dude got his bag and he wants so bad to be a part of wrestling. You can just see it.
So, from one person who thinks he's telling the truth to another one, Drew McIntyre versus Jacob Fatu. So, do you want me to just go through some of the highlights of it, or do you want to just take it up straight away?
I want two things, and it's within the same spot. If I can just interject with this, and it might even be, we might even have to revisit with a video. I love the psychology that, people hit the corner of the apron or hit the ring apron, but the ring apron is down. The ring apron came up, so you saw the exposed cross beams and everything that supports the ring. But man, throwing Jacob back of the head and upper back and neck first into that is a rough bump. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
I like the double hook neck thing on the bottom beam. That can be worked in a way, but dude, throwing him backwards in that, and he threw his body into it. How does that not hurt or you don't pay for that 5, 10, 15 years down the road?
Not the only apron bump on the show, because there will be
But
ones
a
that go
different
through.
apron bump.
Mm-hmm.
I preferred Kevin Owens to give me that apron bomb on the corner. That Jacob took all metal on that and all the little cross beams.
So, at the beginning, there's the story of the toolbox being used as a callback to Hell in a Cell with Punk. And if people don't remember that was late 2024, I think. And something split Drew McIntyre straight across his head on that toolbox, and it seemed to be catching him flat, but caused massive cut to his head, and they were kind of playing with that a little bit more. Does having a hardcore blood feud have a problem when it's in daylight? Do you know what I mean? Because like with the arenas, you can control the light a little bit, but there's something about having all these weapons and trying to make it really gritty that kind of in like direct sunlight doesn't. It's not quite the same feel, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and also I missed the fact that like the toolbox needs to look like it was used for mechanic work or something. It was so like painted bright red to make it look like a brand new toolbox, not something like they did that way back in the day. They would use the actual ring crew toolbox store in some of these Attitude Era matches, and it was scraped up and the paint was chipped and all that stuff. You bring up an excellent point, and this pairs off with the fact of the table bump in match one, then an extension of the violence where there's no like break in between. They should have put one of the women's matches right after that opening and then went into this to kind of vary it up. I don't understand why unless they're still trying to promote things in the first hour to get you to watch and subscribe to after that.
That's not a bad point, because I'd made that point of like the formatting. That was the only two I'd switch around.
The women's matches and the violence, right?
Yeah, but then it goes men, women, men, women, men, women, men. And then does that become something that they find too contrived to do it that way?
Once again, I might be the old head here with the old style of booking, but this is the circus. This is a variety show. And when you give two, and on TV, sometimes three matches in a row that are exactly similar or exactly presented or male or female, Yeah, I get that. But there's enough female talent on the roster and matches to where that does mean it's not so much male, female, male, female. It's six-man tag with a violent ending. Now we need something with actual wrestling. Okay, let's put one of the women's matches, either the singles title or the tag titles, in there. I would not do the triple threat or the multiple women tag team because we had just a multi-man tag match. Do you see what I'm saying? So that would probably be Becky versus AJ in that match. After that, you get a title change. And now the people watching the free ESPN feed go, wow, there's a lot of stuff happening tonight. That's kind of, now we have the ultra violence still in the first hour. Part of that, as a matter of fact, in a way, I don't know how they timed it, but can you imagine if they could time it to where when Drew started, he bled hard way, but when the blood was introduced or something, they're about to go off the free feed and you have to subscribe to see how violent this match gets.
I've got one more theory. They had to get the Slim Jim table out on ESPN.
No, they 100%. Once I saw that, I was just like, oh man.
Hey, do you know, like a lot of the matches had official sponsors. At the very least, the unsanctioned match did not have a sponsor. Because if they did, that would have just been it for me.
I think there's a podcast or a YouTube channel called Unsanctioned. I'm not sure. I was like, oh my God, they're going to have that sponsored. But that not being sanctioned, I have to give WWE credit for that. If it was by accident, great job. If it was on purpose, even better job. Because if it's unsanctioned, why would you have advertisers for this match? That's a key little detail.
Running through a couple of things. They kind of rush to the finishes quite quickly. Some chair action. Then it's mentioned referee Dan Engler has history with Drew. Drew takes the ref's belt, but Fatu rallies and then whips Drew. Fatu whoops. I actually meant whips, but autocorrect Drew with the belts. Is there any way to work a belt shot like this, or is there any way to pick like a thinner belt that makes a better noise so it doesn't hurt too much, or is it just grit your teeth, deal with it? It's live, pal.
Grit your teeth, deal with it, but there is a right and wrong way to use the strap, especially Jacob, literally, he didn't fold it up. When you fold it up, you get a little bit more sound because besides hitting your back, it snaps to each other, and that creates an extra sound. Here's what's happened to me a few times, and I had to say something. You learn it the hard way, and thank God Jacob, from what I knew, did it the right way. What do you think the worst thing you can do when you're whipping somebody? What's the worst way to do this?
Do it with the buckle.
The buckle away from you, not holding the buckle. And I've been in that spot where that point of the buckle thing has literally sliced my back. And I'm talking about an indie show with no TV. I know I allowed somebody to whip me and on an indie show. I'm stupid.
It's almost like that. Is it leaf suspension? Is that what it's called? What's the kind of suspension where it actually is like a belt folded in half and it does that? Almost like the diamond cutter thing, you know what I mean?
I don't know. I just know that when you do that, it's like when you pull a belt, you make that snap sound. That actually account. No, it doesn't make it hurt any less. But the only other way I would say would be if you had a weight belt like Cody's, like when Rock whipped Cody with it and he held the buckle. You can't miss that buckle. If you switch that, then you are doing it on purpose.
Fatu is on the top rope. He gets shoved off the top rope to the table. So we've skipped kind of like 10, 15 minutes here where the table's set on the outside. Jacob, I have to say this, took the most sublime, he threw himself kind of thing, but it was just perfect landing. And just before I forget, the IShowSpeed jump onto Logan Paul on the table, that was a perfect landing as well. So some stuff really went right on this show early on as far as doing really dangerous stuff as safely as humanly possible. I want to ask you about this, and I know probably on the first show we ever did, in fact, Jake Fatu had just debuted. And we're like, man, he's so great straight away with kind of relatively little experience, especially with the so-called WWE style. It's like Jacob Fatu has never wavered from being really good. He's never had like a stutter step. And is it just because he's Samoan and it's born into his blood that he knows how to work? But not all the Samoans know how to work.
Yeah, but more of them do. More of them have that in them. And growing up around it all your life, I'm sure they wrestled around in the ring when they were just little kids and just basically he's a natural athlete, that's for sure, especially for the size. Anybody can do what he can do is an impressive athlete. But when you're talking about somebody that looks like they shouldn't be able to do all that stuff smoothly and not hurting their opponent, and then the other layer that's most important in wrestling, you actually have a character attached to it. Really, really good. The only thing that makes me afraid with Jacob is he's so good. He takes great bumps. He sells. Then you start after, oh, you're over enough, brother. Now you start putting all these guys over, and here we are. Poor Drew, though. This was like both guys deserve not to lose. So it's a hard place to be in. My prediction, though, because of the belt, I think they are going to have a strap match at Backlash.
Fatu hits Drew with the toolbox, then moonsaults him through the second table for the win. Very crisp all the way through, dare I say. I didn't ask you about the first show as well, but I know we don't do ratings kind of thing, but I suppose you can do a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle kind of deal for both. That's a bit less committal, I guess, than exact ratings. But for the first match and second match, what do you think of both?
Oh, both thumbs up, except for the table bump at the end. I mean, if you're going to rate it, they would both be almost perfectly booked matches, except the table bump paired with the following match had the violence.
Women's four-way next. Are they the immovable objects?
They moved they got moved around quite a bit, didn't they?
They did. No, I can't remember if they're the irresistible forces, but I just call them the immovable objects. They're dressed as Demolition, which is a cool little thing. Anyway, Nikki Bella was not cleared in time. That was kind of made obvious about a day earlier, I think, and then also made obvious the day earlier, or the day of, in fact, is Brie is now tagging with the returning Saraya Paige. There you go, saved up her money to buy more views on YouTube. But Paige is back. She gets a huge ovation. We all guessed this it was going to be her replacing Nikki because she cancelled her WrestleCon photo session last minute as well. So that kind of made it all obvious. Brie does the yes kicks. Do you remember once briefly Michael Cole says, oh, she calls them the it kicks or something?
Yes.
And then Cole...
for more than one match, they called it the 8 kicks.
Yeah, and then Michael Cole on commentary, when he actually said, they went, yeah, we know. Even he'd given up trying to change people's minds.
Well, I was going to say, too, speaking of the commentary, because I really wanted to put that over, and I will throughout the shows, Wade Barrett has the perfect mix of making it legitimate, about bringing up nuance and detail, different things. And when you got somebody we'll talk about later on, somebody selling like Randy Orton did, he can just play with the reasoning of what happens. And he's the perfect mix of having a wrestling commentator that sounds like a sports analyst and somebody that's actually done it. Like it's close to an NFL type presentation, the way he adds the professional analyst or analysis to that. I really, really like that. Not the, well, in my day, and I did this. Hey, McMahon, shut up. I miss Jesse, though. He'll never be back.
You see, for me, Wade, he wavers way too much. It's like sometimes he's complete heel commentator, and then half the time he's completely neutral.
I like the neutral version. I get what you're saying. He was a little more neutral than anything during this night. At least I felt that way.
Through the Becky Lynch match, he's, is so, in Becky Lynch's corner as possible. Just randomly, it almost seems. And then for other matches, he's completely neutral.
Yeah, it's a good point. All right, we get to that match, but let's go through the women's four-way tag. I'm going to point out something that didn't bother me, but I didn't see a way to do this. But how do you feel about the heels paying tribute to the incredibly popular Demolition?
Well, who else is going to do it?
That's what I mean. It was
They're
done
the only
well.
ones with size to do that,
true.
I think.
It would have been kind of cool if they came out to the music.
Here comes the That's a great song, that. I'm glad that WWE actually springs for that theme song, but they won't do it for like the Godwins, for example.
Yeah, I didn't. You know what I didn't get during their Hall of Fame video package, which was longer than Sid's. We'll get into that. They played the music and they kind of had an extended version of it, but then they go into the type of song that was like the old WrestleMania, that stupid song. Like whatever,
How
whatever
dare
show,
you? How
whatever,
dare... That's a wonderful song.
like Linda McMahon's entrance music.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely love it. Whoa. Isn't that the one with Mean Gene who goes, "Who will survive?" And
Yeah,
it's like, what?
it was the one that where he used they literally used like 30 frames per second, but then they cut it down to 15 and made it like stop motion. Remember that era
Mm-hmm.
of video? Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's
Dude,
so bad it's good. I know.
dude, I've got a fact for you. So you know at the beginning he goes, "Who will survive?" And he says the Survivor Series, they've got the Mean Gene. That was from a never aired segment that Mean Gene did with Jimmy Garvin in the WWF. They actually went on the little blue podium and did like a preview of an upcoming pay-per-view or something like that with Jimmy Garvin. They gave Jimmy Garvin a tester. The crowd booed or were completely silent, and he wasn't hired. But that never aired. But that is where that audio is cut from.
Oh wow. And he did was that during his stint as an agent as well as like two separate things? Because he tried out to be an agent when I was with the company for one day. That was
Oh,
only
dude,
his
no, it was 90. Yeah, it's like 91, 92.
No, I know there are two different times when I was
Yeah.
thinking about it.
Right. Women's
Oh,
four-way.
WrestleMania.
WrestleMania. I love that. Paige, then. I actually wrote here, my guess is Bella and Paige win because of the substitution. Have I just watched too much wrestling that it's not obvious now? That's booking
Yeah,
101.
now we sit back and watch Paige go from way up here, and now it's the beginning of the end. Here you go, and then we'll get our vignettes about a year or two from now.
How do you think Paige did in her return?
She was nervous. She was excited. Sometimes that exhausts you. I can feel that kind of wanting to do good, a little bit of Hot Wheels feed, which is always there with these matches. They threw her in the right match with a multi-person match like that, so they didn't blow her up or get her winded or anything. But I could tell she was nervous, but she did really well. And also, you got to think about she did have a neck injury where she wasn't able to wrestle for a long time, isn't it? Why she signed with AEW, right? She
Yeah,
had
I don't know if WWE wouldn't clear her or not. I imagine they wouldn't.
back then.
Mhm.
But I mean, everybody forgets that was a spot with Sasha Banks on a house show where she mule kicked her in the back of her back, but really her neck, and she went down from that years ago. We have to still be careful. So even though she's now tag champion, you got to kind of maybe realize she's on a bump count when it comes to her neck and protect her.
Yeah, she gave an interview afterwards, basically claiming that she was going to be WWE for life after this. You had to read between the lines of Paige's post AEW interviews where she talked about it, and she was pretty much like, they didn't do anything with me. It wasn't what I was hoping for. She said, look, I made some great friends. I did have a couple of matches I really liked, but for the most part, she thought it was a waste.
Isn't that kind of the pattern when people go there from WWE and then they get an initial like bump and then they kind of are forgotten about?
Yeah, I mean, not for everyone, though, of course, but it's definitely a pattern with some people, from Rusev, who's also back in WWE now, but...
She made a ton of money, so that's always a good thing too. And you didn't have to bump a whole lot.
Oh, look, yeah, I never feel sorry for millionaires. Is the Lash extension the worst name for a signature move of all time? This looks like absolutely we must have a pun for every signature move. Wow, that's a stinker.
Oh, I don't think. I mean, it might be paired along with the WrestleMania song we just talked about that you love so much. It's way too on the nose with everything, or too on the lashes. I don't mind it. It's fine. At least I don't know what other you would legendary fall or whatever Lash Legend.
Oof.
Well, there you go. I mean, what do you want? I don't work
Just
for the
nothing.
company.
Just call it a name that's already established. You don't have to trademark everything. There is a big cheer for Paige and Charlotte, which was nice to see. So, the fans with the longer term memories and that.
Yeah, it's good to see. I mean, you got babyface with that. And where does it go from here, though? Now what happens when Nikki Bella comes back after her injury? Are they just going to be like the Freebirds, or she got to turn the belt over, or are we going to get dissension among the Bellas? The
Yes, absolutely.
choice of who you go with. Yeah.
Yes, that one. Paige hits a finisher and wins as predicted. Now, The Mandalorian and Grogu are in the audience as a trailer plays. I actually watched this trailer because I really like The Mandalorian. More celebs, Tony Hinchcliffe and some other guy in a pork pie hat, then the Cone Zone. Anyway, and then the announcer goes, and here are the Wonder Years. And you're really hoping for TV's Fred Savage. But apparently that's what the band's called, who does Becky Lynch's deal. Anyway, it's Becky Lynch versus AJ Lee, and something tells me that you've got a lot to say about this one.
They just can't get any chemistry together. With every Becky Lynch match, there just seems to be a part or parts in the match where everything gets all jumbled up, or they fumble whatever spot they're doing, they stop dead, or it's, AJ Lee with the rock bottom. It looked like she just pushed her straight out towards the middle of the ring. It just had no flow, no gears, no chemistry, and it just felt the most exciting part was Becky interacting with the referee. Did you feel that way?
That's all I wrote down. Because every Becky Lynch match, I just sit there and just, it kind of washes over me now. Because it's the same thing every time. I think you said it in the video, and I think you're right, is that at some point, fans got snowed into thinking that Becky Lynch was the best women's wrestler on the roster. And no, not even close.
No, and you got to be to a point now. How far are we into this? How many matches? How many pay-per-views? How many times is it not Becky Lynch's fault when Becky Lynch is always in the match where this happens? I'm not saying that like, I mean, the Lyra Valkyrie girl seems to be a very good athlete and seems to have, she reminds me of Bayley. They're teamed up. So very much somebody that could wrestle in a way where it looks just as good as when the guys do it. But when you're in the ring with Becky, it feels like you have to regress back and you have to wrestle I used the term Hot Wheels feet. It just felt like they were taking way too many steps to get to anything, literal steps, where they were jumbling around and they had to get in the position. It just felt like there was no fluidity or with the body movement or anything like that they had. It felt like it just felt like very indie or very wrestling school type match to me. I don't know. I can't describe it, but it just wasn't a good match.
Have a guess how long it went?
15?
8 minutes 15.
Well, there you go. It felt a lot longer with that.
That's the point I'm making. I was genuinely worried that, remember the SummerSlam thing with Lyra Valkyrie, and it just went on like a Stephanie McMahon Hall of Fame speech. It just went on and on and on. And I was worried this was going to be the same. Because at WrestlePalooza, like with that mixed tag, and it went like 30. Someone convinced them to go 30. Or they convinced somebody that they should go 30. And it was like, oh, God. It would have been fine if it was like 14. And then this, like...
Well, tell me, what am I missing with this? Everybody out there, comment below. But James, what am I missing with this? Because I said before, it's politically motivated. It's because, or the office is full of marks, and they do think she's the best wrestler in the world, and everybody else is terrible. And this has to be a politically, and everything in wrestling has to do with politics and networking and who your husband is or who likes you and thinks you're the best. But I'm not saying she's not capable. I'm not saying she's not entertaining. I'm not saying that fans don't care about her, but I will say this about the match. They were quiet for a lot of this match.
And they've put so much TV time into this as well. But like with the AJ Lee return last year, that was a huge deal. And that was 6-7 months ago, I think now. And now I'm just not, at no point did I ever feel any interest in this match. And they put in so much TV time for it. I don't know if it's just because Becky like overacts so much, which normally I'm all for. But it just, I'm at a struggle to describe what I dislike about it.
Well, I think because, like you said, she's a terrible heel. So it's not a matter.
She's great babyface.
You don't dislike her. That's the problem. Do you see what I mean? And when she doesn't, dude, I talk about radio DJ on an independent show. That's her trying to be a heel. She's right up there. It's even more over the top and unbelievable as McAfee as a heel. Even though they turned on, you see what I mean? But it feels like she's for it. She's playing the part of a heel pro wrestler. If a fan would say, I'm heel Becky Lynch and goes all over the top, all that was missing was the belt buckle Vince shrug and saying what? But she should be a baby face. There should have been something there that turned her baby face, but man, she just insists on playing the part of a heel.
Is AJ Lee in a completely untenable position here? Because obviously she has to be the good guy, the good girl, whatever you want to call it. And Becky is better. Is AJ Lee? What I'm trying to say is there's no house shows anymore to practice these damn things. She's been gone for over 10 years. None of the matches she's been in have been good. So they barely let her wrestle and they just do all the character work and do the interviews and build and that kind of thing to go to. But is she in just an unwinnable position here, being so part-time?
It's a tough thing. You would say mostly everybody on the roster, even the main roster, is essentially part-time compared to back in the day when people would do house shows. I've said I don't have the answer for this. You talk about untenable. I think a lot of talents are in an untenable situation to never really get better at this because they don't have the availability of reps. She's in a tough spot because, you got to worry about injury more as you get older. So you want to limit your appearances. But when do we get to the point? I'll turn the question back over to you. When do we get to the point, or are we at the point now where she can have character work and promos, but they become less and less believable and interesting because then the bell rings, as Ben Hameen would say.
Well, it's kind of the same. Yeah. But here's the other thing. Is there's so much gap between when the bell rings. There's like 2 months between matches, so I guess you kind of like forget about it, and then she comes back
Dude,
again.
I thought she came back years ago at this point. It feels like the time is not lining up with what's going on. It, like you said, 7 months in wrestling feels like forever anyway. Like, look at Jey Uso, go back to the 6-man, not to give a review on that. This dude was world champion last year. Now he's in the opening 6-man tag.
She's done 5 matches: WrestlePalooza, Survivor Series, which was a 10-woman, Elimination Chamber, which was a multi-woman match. Oh no, I'm sorry, AJ Lee versus Becky Lynch. That was a single, but that was twice. But that was the same for me. I just every time that match comes up now, I'm like, oh no, here's the long. But at the very least, WrestleMania was a 7-match card, not a 4-match card, so they don't have to extend it. All the matches are relatively condensed for a PLE these days as well.
Do you think Bruce was upset? He must have been pulling his hair out. Almost double the recommended matches.
Yeah, did you read my notes? I put exactly that.
No, I didn't. No, I got the notes and we started recording like a couple minutes later.
No, dude, I actually wrote Bruce Pritchard must be pulling his hair out at having nearly double the amount of matches.
Oh God, it's getting scary. We're not even at episode 100 yet. No, I didn't. I swear I did not read that.
Okay, right. So with the Jessica Carr thing with the referee, this is also, by the way, the second. Is this not the second match in the last 3 matches where one of the wrestlers got an issue with the referee? There was a lot of doubling up on stories.
I don't know what's up with that. Like, usually they have so much attention to detail. They should on this show to say, hey, what body part are you working? What are you doing? Oh, we have a ref thing. Need to get it cleared. How are they letting all this not be at least somebody raising their hand saying, hey, table bump in the opening match? And if they say, we're trying to convert subscribers, got it. Hey, we got 2 ref things happening in a row. Isn't that a little bit? Let's just get through this week. That's probably the answer.
So the finish was, I wrote it was stupid at first, but I think it was the camera angle. I thought that AJ Lee had splashed Jessica Carr because Becky Lynch had grabbed the ref to drag her in the way of, a corner splash, like a stinger splash or whatever it might be. But she hadn't. The replay angle made it clear that, there wasn't contact, and then the referee walked off. Becky Lynch took off the turnbuckle pad again, because that played into the earlier in the match. Shoves AJ Lee's head into it, and then manhandle slam or whatever it was. Yeah, it was manhandle slam for the win. Is it going to be a thumbs down or thumbs in the middle?
I mean, they tried. What should I do? I don't know. I would say thumbs down. It has to be. But then again, thumbs in the middle, because it's the same exact problem for how many, like, well over a year with this.
Club WWE mentioned that nobody actually quite knows what you get from it. And then there's Chuck Zito in the front with the same NFL guy who's drinking beer, another beer. Terrence Crawford, funny Marco. Conor Benn, who nobody knows in the States as well, who's just been signed to TKO's new boxing deal for $15 million, I think, stealing away from Eddie Hearn's Matchroom Boxing. Right, we're going to Gunther versus Seth Rollins. Brawl outside before the bell sounds, and then starts off with a big boot battle. And over to you, Stevie, to take over.
Yeah, I like the fact that they had to establish some kind of, like you said, a blood feud type thing where they started brawling and then you have to get into the match. It had a mix of that and then a wrestling match that had the gears that I talked about the fans being quiet. I could look at the fans and say they were paying attention to what was going on, and it built and it built and it built. And this is a standard Gunther match mixed in with some of the Seth Rollins kind of high spots. With that, I have to tell Seth Rollins, he's doing way too many. There was a spot with the superplex thing, and then he did the buckle bomb towards the end. Dude, when he went over Gunther and landed, his knee looked like it buckled again. I'm like, this dude gonna blow his knee out again? I think even Wade Barrett said something about when you have Seth Rollins style, you're going to have injuries that do occur. So I like that little touch. But man, right before that, I was just like, we had the Saturday Night's Main Event where he kind of worked the injury with the buckle. He just has a tendency to do that. And I'm like, this dude's going to blow a knee out again.
There's one bit I wanted to make mention of. Seth is landing some stomps right to Gunther's ear while he was down, and they were really laying it in, definitely. But do you ever get the feeling that, especially these two, Gunther and Seth Rollins, are under the gun to make this as even harder hitting match than it otherwise would have been, because they kind of have to manufacture that interest because they've only had 2 weeks build, and it was a very, very tenuous reason why they're wrestling in the first place?
Well, there's another thing to it. There's a very old school mentality that WrestleMania is where it seems like every week they lay it in and they hit each other hard. But WrestleMania is the time where you kind of lay stuff in extra. You just apologize later. You hit hard in safe places. What I would say is your ear is not a very safe place. I'm paying for a lot of that from back in my career. Yeah, I think they put a lot more pressure on themselves knowing that there was barely any build to this. Plus, this is Gunther's style. If you think about it, you watch him as Walter, especially over in your neck of the woods and everything. This guy was incredibly physical. And this is kind of a throwback to that. He's always been a physical wrestler, but he's mixed in a WWE style with that since he's been there. This was closer to what the old Walter wrestled at. By the way, everybody on the card, man, it's amazing how everybody gets in incredible shape and leans out from Rumble to WrestleMania, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like having a wedding 6 months in advance. You've got to have that goal sometimes, to fit into that suit.
Yeah, but hey, honey, we're 6 months out from the wedding. You know what we got to do?
Mm-hmm. The buckle bomb specifically, Gunther took it different to everyone else I've seen. Pretty much is that he almost turtled up like a hedgehog or turtle or tortoise, rather than sort of like leaning back into it. Would you suggest that's a safer way of taking the buckle bomb, because it sort of like eliminates the whiplash effect of the neck?
Well, didn't he also kind of lean to his right a little bit? He kind of twisted his body to not take it to where I think he was just doing that so his neck didn't snap. I mean, you could do it. Look at Sting. It was pretty basic when he did it to Sting, but Sting's career at the time was essentially over from that. It's never a great idea. I don't know why the move still exists, especially after Finn Balor on the outside during that Universal title match years ago, and literally had to give the title up the next day because he tore his labrum, I think. It's just never a good idea to take that kind of bump where you're not looking. And I think that's why Gunther said, well, I'm going to do my armadillo impression. I'm going to curl up and take the bump and even to the side. I don't have a problem with that. He's a big dude. And then I thought Seth, like I said, tweaked his knee before the buckle bomb. Can you imagine if he just didn't have it and he tried to throw Gunther and it was sloppy? Thank God it wasn't.
There's a cool reversal from the roll up into the sleeper. The rest of the match had been pretty slow and I think methodical is the polite word, isn't it? To say with this kind of thing, but it was very slow back and forth. Cool reversal from the roll-up into the sleeper. Finisher kick out for Gunther, but he gets put in his own sleeper, but reaches the ropes. I like that. And I don't know if it's just more of like a bad guy thing in wrestling, where they're more desperately trying to get to the ropes, to get out of it, and that kind of like fits Gunther's character that he will give up. And I also like that Wade had a very good point. It's like Gunther is so long that he more than Seth can just reach out the extra couple of inches with his foot to, break the hold, and that's why he escaped.
Yeah, it's a great point. That's something that I've always said, and they don't, they don't do it. I always felt like the babyface should really, if you are going to get to the ropes, you need to try at least 2 to 3 types of counters to get out of it or escapes. And then the ropes come as a last resort where the heel, screw this, I'm going right for the ropes. It's a detail they don't really do because think about it. A lot of times the wrestlers actually do, as baby faces, get to the ropes right away, and then the counter or the escape comes after the initial rope one.
Where are we? Triple dive through the ropes. Why did I put triple dive? Whatever. No, it is, because 3 dives through the ropes. With the third one, Gunther just kind of he just kind of puts his arms up and stops it, and then he gives a powerbomb to Seth on the apron, then a powerbomb onto the table, and then Seth kind of just gets right up and then pedigrees Gunther on the table and then stomps on that table as well. So yes, this is the second. Oh no, I'm sorry. Is this the third announced table interaction? Was the one in Drew and Jacob Fatu as well?
Well, there's Slim Jim table.
It was okay. That was the Slim Jim table. Excuse me. Anyway, Bron Breakker then runs in and hits a spear on Rollins. Gunther slaps on the sleeper until he passes out, unlike John Cena, who gave up.
Yeah, they need to stay. I thought about that. And Seth, master politician, make sure if I'm going to do the job, something's going to happen to distract. It's the old Macho Man, Ultimate Warrior Slaughter thing where Warrior lost the title, but it was because of Randy Savage. So now Warrior can go after Randy Savage. So it was very solid with that to give Seth a reason to go away from Gunther. And thank God, I was like, if Gunther does the job after everything they've done for him, I mean, it was still flat if you think about it, compared to the momentum Gunther had from retiring Cena, retiring AJ, and then you have a match literally with no story and no build.
The post-match, Braun does a running spear down the ramp on Seth, but completely misses it. Like, his hand barely touches Seth whatsoever. It's the safest thing in the world.
And that was by design.
Mm-hmm.
That was the Yokozuna Banzai for the local, Yokozuna Banzai for the main roster.
Danhausen blimp floats in the stadium, and then what better way to herald the WWE Hall of Fame roll call?
Can I stop you right there?
Yes, please.
One of the best segments I've seen, one of the most fun things I watched. Somehow I went to WWE.com just to see if they would say, like, Stephanie's speech is the greatest of all time. The Hall of Fame is canceled after this. We can't do any better. Danhausen, The Miz, Kid Wilson, Maurice, and the whole family at a Las Vegas wedding chapel to do the renewal of the vows. And Danhausen, I mean, Miz has to be having fun with this, but Danhausen is literally, I have people that text me and say, Danhausen got me back into watching WWE because it's so ridiculous and fun. He's like my underdog favorite. So he's definitely giving WWE a return on their investment already. Did you watch that?
He's been done so much on social media because I saw the blimp thing, the actual blimp thing, the Goodyear blimp that he has a ride around and stuff. But like, they're getting more value out of Danhausen, dare I say, on social media than they are on the live shows, because like they've started putting the T-shirt, gun segments on the show rather than during commercials and stuff. And they've always got a segment with Danhausen. Is it pretty much every show now? One backstage, one a week? Or is he more on SmackDown now?
I think he was appearing on both of them going up to WrestleMania, if I'm not mistaken. I know he's been on Raw with that, talking about the Miz, obviously, and then the other stuff. And I think I've seen him more on Raw, but this is, I never thought, and I hope they don't beat us over the head with it more. I hope they give him different stuff to do and don't make him stale. But I didn't think they would have a more entertaining act than R-Truth come along ever in this era. But we haven't. And of course, we're going to have Truthhausen as tag team champions. And I look forward to it.
How do you think? Do you think it's going to be Danhausen versus Damian Priest now to get rid of Damian, like as the tag team breakup? Because it's R-Truth and Damian Priest are the tag champs, and now somehow Danhausen's going to ruin that.
I feel like what they're going to do is not the substitution, but basically Damian Priest is injured, like, or he's
so he
injured.
Could be Crush in the demolition.
Yeah, well, no, he's going to run in and help defend it. Then Damian Priest is like, kind of like you do with Truth. Man, I would never hang around this guy, but he's kind of growing on me type thing. And he did help us. Oh man. And then you have that part. But Damian Priest, speaking of him, you talk about a guy that should have still been in that upper to main event type spot. And it feels like he's kind of floating around. I don't think he should be part of a comedy act, at least not an intentional, continued comedy act. Maybe he just says, here, hey, you're a tag team, and he walks away. Gives it to Danhausen.
I disagree with that. I think Damian Priest hasn't got the personality to be a top dude. I've always felt that. For me, no. I thought he was good in the Judgment Day, but like he's been lost without them.
I just think him and Drew had great chemistry. I think him and Bad Bunny did a great job. He's done a lot of things to build up to that. Then they give him the World Heavyweight title, but it's all been downhill since then. That Judgment Day, man, I just would not want to be in. It's just like a kiss of death, unless you like clubhouses and video games backstage.
Yeah, well,
and also head knocking and black eyes and all sorts of crazy stuff.
Carlito.
You know, it's interesting.
How they got rid of him.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. But Carlito would have been great with Danhausen and R-Truth and all that stuff.
Next, I'm sorry, we're going to the WWE Hall of Fame roll call, and this is going to very much spiral out into other things, I'm sure. Well, everybody's out there. They have the representation of the two legacy inductees as well, including, surprisingly, Gunnar Eudy, who yesterday, if I can find it here, here's what he said. Thank you to everyone for all the love and support you've shown our family. It means the world, and I appreciate every single person who had my dad's back. Last night's so-called Hall of Fame induction for my father, Sid Eudy, Psycho Sid Vicious, was straight up disappointing and disrespectful as hell. I'm glad my dad was big enough to put himself over, even in death, because WWE damn sure wouldn't. I didn't see one single ad for him here in Vegas. The Hall of Fame gift shop had zero merch for my dad, not a damn thing, but they were loaded with all the Dennis Rodman crap you could want, which is surely zero, if anyone could want. If it felt like they just swept Sid under the rug like a footnote, rushing to get him out of the way. Maybe if we had waited another 20 years until all those jealous, insecure ex-colleagues were gone, the ones who could never match his athletic ability, his looks, or his unbreakable willpower to tell them no, he would have finally gotten the full induction he actually deserved. Still, I'm trying to stay positive for my son's sake. I got to bring him, and he doesn't know they did his grandpa dirty. He just got to see his hero honoured. That moment with my boy made it worth it, and at least we walked away with the real Hall of Fame ring. I'm adding pictures of it here because there's something solid we can actually hold on to, while the rest of this felt like a slap in the face. Rest in power, Dad. The master and the ruler of the world got his flowers. Even if WWE tried to shortchange you one last time, they were always jealous. Congratulations to Bad News Brown, Sid Vicious, and Demolition.
What are your thoughts on that? I gotta break that down, like, and kind of unpack that and the whole thing. But what do you think?
Don't worry about what I think. Oh, do you want me to just fill in time for a minute while you think?
No, I want to know what you think. I don't just say that.
Dude, it was 75-second video. Or we said this beforehand. We said this. I'm really annoyed I didn't do a solo video on it because your video did great. I didn't even consider it.
There we go.
There we go. Yeah. But everyone kind of thought the same thing. How can you give Stephanie McMahon an hour, and you give Sid Vicious, who actually made a difference in the wrestling business and was a multi-time world champion during the hottest periods or the most beloved periods in WWF, WCW wrestling history, and then you give Stephanie an hour. Is it just because he died and you don't want to bring attention to the fact he died? It's like he should have been in years ago, and he wanted it. Recent interviews before he died, like within the last year, before he died, because he was dealing with cancer at the time. He said he'd love it, and I just don't understand why WWE continually just don't induct people who really want it and really deserve to be in it, and they just won't. It's like, oh, if you want to be in the Hall of Fame, you can't be. You know what I mean? It's like just like snatching the toy away.
While they're dangling the carrot, they're weaponizing the hope, even after you retire, even after years and years down the line and decades with Sid. Not only that, Vader was another one that when he was alive, he wanted to be in the Hall of Fame, correct?
Yes.
He had openly mentioned that. Demolition had wanted this, and they had punished them for so many years due to that concussion lawsuit. So it's such a bipolar thing, though. You have Demolition there, who they've made pariahs for how many years. They finally came around and gave them the Hall of Fame induction, but you didn't do the same justice, pun intended, to Sid Justice, Sid Vicious, Psycho Sid. My question was, because reading what his kid wrote, I'm thinking to myself, there's no way ever I would be a part of this. I would not go to the Hall of Fame. I don't care about the ring. In a way,
But what did they tell him? What did they tell him, though?
They strung him along and they then last second?
Well, that's what I'm wondering, because what did I say to you, Stevie, on our show a few days before it happened? This is what it'll be, and I said almost verbatim, it'll be a 3-minute video package, see you later. It was a 75-second video package, and see you later. That was it. What did he tell the family to get them to give their blessing to have Sid inducted? That's what I want to know, because if Gunnar was so disappointed with how the WWE handled this legacy induction, he clearly would have known if they were only going to give like just over a minute video package dedicated to him and then move on. He would have known that. I don't think he could have known that before going there. I think he was expecting more.
That's an excellent point. That's something that could be up for debate. I look at it this way. Once you say that, because it was announced before the Hall of Fame event, when we did the show, I think, that he was part of the legacy wing of the Hall of Fame. That's the biggest red flag right there. If you're not an actual Hall of Fame class with Stephanie, AJ, Demolition, Dennis Rodman, then you say legacy, but Dennis Rodman's on a higher level. I would say, we know better because we know the kid, Gunnar Eudy, could kind of know, but not know, because maybe he wasn't smart enough to the way this pattern operates. These people with their pattern operate. But once I heard legacy, I was like, you said 3 minutes. I joked and said, he's going to be lumped in with the other 12 as just whatever and nothing special, which is, now here's a question. I think you covered it on your Stephanie video. This was after this kid, or the kid and the grandkid, had to sit through Stephanie's speech, right?
Indeed.
Was Sid after that?
Yes. Everyone was after that.
Dude, can you imagine sitting through an hour of that? I mean, that's more than a slap in the face. That's a kick in the you-know-what. That you made me sit through this and all this, and you give everybody who actually wrestled and contributed to the success, especially his father, to the company, and you literally had her front-loaded with a 1-hour speech. And then you'll wrap it up, B, on our thing. Wow.
Dude, they were telling that for you could tell, because like practically every other inductee, I think not AJ Styles, every other inductee mentioned Stephanie McMahon in one way or another, essentially very politely saying Stephanie said it all. I think that was what someone's like, oh, Stephanie said it all.
Demolition really, like, I could tell. I don't know which one said it, but I remember they literally made a joke and then took a jab about that, right? Mm-hmm. Well, Stephanie said everything that needs to be said. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, pretty much.
Not that exact, but that's what I would do.
So, okay, let's get to the Stephanie thing then. When I say 1 hour, it wasn't a 1 hour speech, but it was a 10-minute video package. 10 minutes long. I joked when I was writing my notes, God, this has been going like 8 minutes. Turned out it'd been going longer. It'd just gone that long. And also, I'm sure people were like saying, oh, you said that Stephanie McMahon was going to be the main event, but AJ Styles was last. And it's like, are you pulling my plonker? Are you yanking on my pisser? You are absolutely so dumb if you think that anyone other than Stephanie McMahon was the main event star, who did an entire hour, and the reason she was on first was because if she was on last, one, she would have been rushed for time instead of everybody else, and two, people would have got up and left. And I promise you people would have got up and left, because she's the only non-wrestler.
I'm trying to, wait a minute, yeah, Stephanie, yeah, AJ's the main event.
Yeah, Stephanie's in the middle.
Who's in front?
Yeah, Stephanie was the one with the belts, with the two separate custom-made Stephanie McMahon women's title belts, which she held once as a joke, because she was the one women's wrestler that wasn't a wrestler and couldn't actually beat anyone, really. And I think she was fighting with Trish, who was also not a women's wrestler, really, at that time either, and that's kind of why those two were paired together. Oh, man.
Oh, we're going to outdo the Obama meme right now. I just found it. This is what Stephanie is right here, or it could be Hunter with the 4 belts.
Right, I'll change it to have Stephanie's face on them.
Oh, please do. That is amazing. I'll send you that photo. I didn't know. I'm looking for the one now that has 8 Obamas giving themselves the Medal of Honor meme. Yeah, this kid and the grandkid. It's almost, when you get into the 10-minute, now the 10-minute video package alone compared to Sid's 75-second. That alone, right? But now the speech on top of that, and the fact that your father, who really did contribute to the success of 2 companies, especially WWE, and like you said, I don't know if you said it during the video, but maybe in our messaging, how long until, somebody else might even commented about this, how long until that Madison Square Garden match between him and Shawn Michaels, where the fans were cheering Sid 100%, and he ended up going over for the WWF title. How long, if not now, do they change the crowd noises to boo Sid and cheer Shawn?
I can believe it.
But
Did Sid ever wrestle Triple H?
Who? Sid?
Did Sid ever wrestle Triple H? Yeah.
I know they can probably have an AI match right now. They probably go that far to make them do the WrestleMania. Now they're going to have WrestleMania 12 where Hunter beats Warrior in 30 seconds.
With everything I've heard with Sid, I would have loved to have interviewed him, but, he was very flaky. I think that's definitely, that's not, in debate, really. You didn't know whether he was going to show up sometimes. But even in wrestling with WCW and WWF, I always thought it was a huge negative, a huge knock against him. And this is what Gunnar said in his post immediately, is that they were jealous that he could basically say no. I can't find the exact quote there. But he was never afraid to say no to people. And as a kid, I was thinking, man, he must be really difficult to work with, and he's letting us down and that kind of thing. And I'm thinking, as a father now, he prioritized being at home. He prioritized his own character and his own business. And if he didn't like something, or if he thought there was something more important, he did that instead. He was someone who treated the wrestling business like a job, I think. And I think that's actually admirable.
Yeah, well, even with the supposed flakiness or going to play softball instead of wrestling or whatever the urban legend about Sid is, when he did show up, even if he didn't show up like how can you say, as a full-time wrestler, he dipped in and out of WWE and WCW. Was he ever not over? Was he ever, when that music played or when Sid came out? You might think about this. The match when Heath Slater was getting beat by all the legends every week on Raw. When you heard the music, and even when you looked at Sid, you're like, my God, he still looks like a monster, So how in the world can you discount that? How can you marginalize that and this whole thing with both sides of the coin of the Hall of Fame, with Stephanie and then the way Sid was treated or not treated? This is more of an indictment and tells more about WWE and TKO than anything Sid can be criticized for.
Just found the quote. Or Sid's unbreakable willpower to tell them no, he would have finally gotten the full induction that he actually reserved. Do you think there was actually any jealousy kind of thing? Or do you just think it's now their policy that the dead guy's a legacy and that's that?
I really don't know. I really don't know. It sure as heck really appears, and it feels like there's so much evidence of pettiness with this, or the Barry Horowitz pat ourselves. It feels like everything, maybe not maliciously towards Sid, but as Sean famously said one time in catering, I still got to get mine. So we got to get ours and get ourselves even more over and feature ourselves. It just feels like, dude, I've been on enough indie shows where the promoters put the belts on themselves and family members. That's what this feels like.
Right, let's talk about the Stephanie one. And I'm not talking about Stephanie Vaquer. We've got to talk about Stephanie McMahon. So I know you didn't watch all of it. I know you've probably seen, the clips and you watched the condensed bits. But I've got to go through it all. Apart from the fact that Miz and Michael Cole were absolutely just impossibly unlikable. It's like this is meant to be like an evening of reverence, and it's like, oh my God, you couldn't pick two more annoying people to do this as a double act. Unless they had Miz and Pat McAfee out there, that would have been worse possibly. Anyway, then Michael Cole says, oh, without this next person, I wouldn't have been here. So it's like, let's not bury Stephanie anymore here, Michael. And then it's a 10-minute video package from beginning to end, but like her entire life story. And then the people who are inducting her three daughters, who all get their individual speeches. And then Linda, they've booted her up.
Did they play the WrestleMania 000 song when she came out?
I may have skipped that bit.
You missed the best part.
That would have been my best bit. And it was like, I think it took like 40 minutes to even get Stephanie out there to do the acceptance speech. And I just watched this the entire way through thinking, who is this for? And I know who it's for, but this is not for anybody watching because it was so boring. Look, she's got three beautiful daughters and it's great and everything. They didn't need to do a speech because none of them are very good public speakers. They got that from Linda quite clearly because she isn't a public speaker despite the fact that she's in Donald Trump's cabinet or whatever it is. Oh man, it just went on. And at no point did anyone justify why she was going in other than she's nice and remembers people's names. That's it.
Well, I can counter that first part from personal experience. And the nice part isn't always there, but I can guarantee you this, besides the fact that I go to bed super early, I guarantee you I would have fell asleep during her speech or during the video. And I guarantee you somebody did who wasn't in those front, like the pecking order rows. Somebody way back and it was like, is it dark hair? Or I would have, this is the funny part about this kind of stuff. You literally have all this stuff going on. And I guarantee you there was multiple people in that audience. And even with their family members, they were holding onto their arms and saying, don't get up and use the bathroom during this. If you got up to use the bathroom, you were done. But she's nice.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. It just kind of felt like, everyone's got to be extra clappy. Everyone has got to be extra stood up to be seen kind of thing.
Yep. Jeff Farmer agrees. Yep. Everybody got that reference last week. That's what I mean. It felt very much like, what's the situation I'm thinking about? It was very much like a hostage situation or a Stockholm.
Dude, do you know what it is? Kim Jong-un, North Korea. If you're not clapping hard enough.
Yes, you would. You'll felt very North Korea-ish.
You'll get thrown to the dogs like his uncles.
And you know what? How many standing ovations did she get? How many? Was there signs for applause and stand? That's what I want to know.
The Hall of Fame didn't sell 500 tickets. And it was like a 3,000 seat arena, and they dropped the tickets really, really cheaply.
Wait a minute,
I guess.
Back up. They didn't even sell 500 tickets for it?
No. I'm sorry. It was a 3,000 seat arena, and they were 500 tickets shy. So of selling out, they dropped the price to $35 getting in the final hours.
How do you feel about that? I think that pattern, just to pass it to you after this, that pattern is a very dangerous pattern. People aren't stupid. If they see what WrestleMania and now they see what the Hall of Fame and they're like, So if I don't buy tickets right away and I wait till the last second, I get the cheapest tickets.
Yeah,
Do you
dude,
think there's a
WrestleMania Saturday had like a 7,000 ticket rush in the last day because they knew if people didn't know how many videos and whatnot have been out there from us and other people saying that, hey, just wait till the last minute. There's plenty of tickets and they will drop the price. And they did. And they got a rush on the last 8,000.
so we are going to have that if fans and in this economy, obviously people are trying to pay attention to cut stuff like this. So are we going to get major run-ups on every pay-per-view and even Raw and SmackDown? Let's wait till the day of and see if they're going to drop the prices.
Of the bits that you saw of Stephanie McMahon's speech, what did you think of them? Any points that she made that you want to bring up?
I forgot half of it. That's what I mean. She spoke for so long, and everybody else said everything in the 10-minute video package about that. But it was just, dude, even the clips, even a 5-minute clip of this was tough to get through. Like I looked, when I clicked on it, I had to look at the amount of time, and I was like you. I was like, oh my God, is this the whole speech or is this like a 10-minute or 20-minute clip? How long? Dude, I was 3 minutes into the 5-minute clip. I was like, oh my God, do I gotta watch another? That's not good. That is not good. Whereas when I watched Demolition, I was like, I could, it was great to see Barry defer to Bill because how much I could tell it meant to Bill and emotion and it came out. Those are two great speakers, especially Bill. I mean, he's a former school teacher, right? So I'm looking at this and I'm like, it felt more like heart and soul. When Stephanie got up, I was like, are you going to run for president? What are we doing here? It felt very measured, rehearsed, political, almost like a Stepford wife type of speech. Did you feel that way?
Oh,
Mechanical.
I did the last minute. She said, right, I'm going to do a heel promo now.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
And
my
in
God.
my mind, so I bet in her mind, she was thinking, the fans are going to love this. This is what they've been after the entire time. Like, and I was thinking, no, this is what people were skipping past every week for years with the authority. I can't speak for everyone, but definitely in the 2010s more than anything, that was the worst part of every show. Pretty much every
I love
week.
the part too where everybody was like laughing and thought it was great that her slaps hurt people and they were dangerous.
Yeah. Travis Scott laughing his head off somewhere.
She taught Travis Scott how to slap.
That was the one thing, is that she actually said who taught her how to slap, and it was Triple H's mother. What a weird claim to fame. And also, why do you need teaching? Ask Jake Hager.
It just proved, well, at least Vince didn't teach her because it would be a very cloddish slap, probably a punch.
And then a fall over.
God.
There was a thank you Vince chant as well. There were so many fans there, even the hardcores, that are desperate to have Vince back, you know.
Isn't that something in this day and age with everything going on?
Well, that's the problem. I think in this day and age, it's not something. That's the problem. It should be.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Stephanie McMahon. Just such a shock and a surprise. This Hall of Fame induction, well deserved.
But it feels like it's the yearly gaslighting for me now. So like last year, it was Michelle McCool saying, no, she's really a legend. Don't you believe us? Look at this video package that's longer than Sid's.
Which McMahon is going into the Hall of Fame next year in Saudi Arabia? Will it be Vince?
It's Vince.
It's Vince.
I'm sure.
That's
because, right, so in June, we're going to find out whether the case goes to arbitration or civil court. It's most likely going to go to arbitration. I think then it's going to be settled, and then probably more NDAs will be signed. Then we'll move on. Then next year, he'll be inducted in WrestleMania 43. That is my prediction.
That's a good prediction. You know who else I think will be inducted in the WWE Hall of Fame?
Linda.
Well, that's a good guess.
Turkey El
No.
Sheik.
Yes. Turkey
good.
likes it. Everybody better like it. Was there going to be Turkey or it was going to be the King of Saudi Arabia will be in the WWE Hall of Fame?
Yeah. It'd be the Crown Prince, I think, since he's kind of spearheading all
Put
this.
the whole kingdom in.
Yeah, sack it. Why not?
Are they going to have a kingdom wing for the Saudi people to have their own wing of the Hall of Fame?
That doesn't exist. What do you think if they built the physical Hall of Fame in Saudi Arabia?
It wouldn't surprise me.
Just very briefly to go through the other nominations, inductees. I don't know how much you saw. The Dennis Rodman one was bizarre because he started talking about like his old neighbor who was sick, and he started crying about it. It had nothing to do with anything. I couldn't understand like a third of the words he was saying because he was mumbling, or he may have been imbibing beforehand. And also, his video package was longer than Sid's, which is just an insult, and he went 10 minutes just yammering on. Demolitions was good. Shane didn't speak longer. They bleeped out WWF for the Warlord, which
But
I still
not
find...
the S word from
Yeah.
Dennis Rodman.
Who else was there? The match, the Immortal Moment match, which, if you're going to do matches, that absolutely deserves to be in there. And Jimmy Hart also mentioned Stephanie, and also AJ Styles, who was the main event of the WWE Hall of Fame. Just kind of rushed, and I think he spoke for 8 minutes. See you later. That was it.
I like that part because it's just like when he wanted to retire, it wasn't going to be a big thing to do, a retirement tour. Just do your speech, do whatever. Now he's going to be a scout for WWE. I can't wait to see what that looks like. It'll give him something to do. Hopefully they're paying him a full salary or a full guarantee, maybe even a full talent, level guarantee. The guy has definitely earned any money they are going to pay him. So hopefully he'll have a long career behind the scenes. I love that I know AJ well enough to know he doesn't want to be an agent and be in those production meetings. I'll go scout the talents and get away from me.
Back to WrestleMania now. Stephanie Vaquer versus Liv Morgan. I'm pretty sure at one point Wade calls Liv Matt Morgan. I'm absolutely sure.
I think you're right. Yes.
So, crowd seemed more into it than definitely Becky Lynch and AJ Lee, dare I say, but it was also, would it be right in saying, kind of a by-the-numbers match?
By-the-numbers match and a babyface reaction for Liv winning the title against a babyface champion. It feels like the Stephanie Vaquer thing is kind of flat. It's been flat with her as champion. So the title reign, maybe in a year or whatever, this could very much be like a Rhea Ripley thing. Remember when she first won it? I think it was WrestleMania in Tampa when she won the title the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't seem like she was ready. Then she had a full evolution of her gimmick, which I don't know what it would look like because this girl's gimmick seems to be pretty fleshed out already. And then Rhea Ripley basically became what she is now in the second run. Everybody forgets about that first title win way, way back.
With Stephanie Vaquer, I can imagine... Do you know what? There's 2 points here. One, how much of a success should be given to Booker T on commentary? Because you don't have the same thing on the main roster. And two, do you think with Stephanie, the way she carries herself, she's got like this imperiousness, this like nose in the air kind of thing, that I think kind of lends to being bad guy.
It leans into maybe that's why they cheered Liv, but at the same time, and like I said, Liv's gimmick and what she's been presenting in a bigger light for a longer time, but also hers seems to have more energy, her character. The Stephanie Vaquer, here I go with my Russo, I say Vaquer, like it had two E's. So, but with her, it feels very flatlined from the very beginning. Obviously, Hunter giving her the rub of saying this is a big deal, signing her, and she is putting the effort into learning English from what I understand. So it's not like she's not trying to improve, but at the same time, it feels like her as champion did not elevate her nor any kind of storyline or angle. Is that kind of way? Yeah, she has very much a heel Charlotte Flair type presentation in her entrance, like a queen type, royalty type thing. Like you said, Empress.
Yeah, I didn't say that. You said that.
You said Empire.
No, I said Imperious.
Okay. You do the Roman version, I'll do the other. How's that? I'm sorry,
no.
I don't. My goodness, I will never misquote you again.
Oh, yes.
I apologize. I will not be a coward when it comes to Apollo. I'm using my Vince stuff. He's got to be there. Some of these promos are very Vincent.
Vincent. I like that as a word as well now.
There you go.
Yeah, are you saying that Stephanie, when she debuted on the main roster, because she won the title very quickly, is this the kind of thing that you keep referring to as you're debuting at your peak?
Isn't that what we're looking at? She won the title. That was the peak. There was interest. Even when she was injured, she was involved. It wasn't like she went away and came back. But yeah, I think it's more not her fault, but the formatting of everybody's journey in WWE is completely backwards.
So, as you said, by the numbers, Judgment Day girls try to distract Steph, but she outsmarts them and then does a springboard dive to the outside. And then Morgan throws Steph into the steps. After distraction, hits Oblivion, wins clean, well, cleanish, I guess. Dominic comes out to celebrate. And then John Cena comes out again, and all he does is hint at the online complaining. Anyway, he announces the attendance, and it's 50,860. Sounds pretty legitimate to me, because I think WrestleTix a few hours prior had said that it just snuck over 50,000, so that sounds about right.
Yeah, the house looked pretty full. The stadium looked very full. I was looking to see where we're at, but when he announced that, I'm surprised at this. Did you notice what they didn't announce? Hey, I don't know if they did it on the post show. You have to let me know. The gate. Because they had all these sales and everything, they didn't announce what they drew. And that's always been a staple when they did have an immense gate of how much they drew in money.
They only announced the full gates for last year only a few weeks ago. I think it'll be announced probably in the next quarterly reports. They don't do a massive deal like UFC does about the gates.
Yeah, but they used to. And they, even with JR back in the Attitude Era, it was like, we have how many fans and a, $100,000 house. Remember they used to say that for certain pay-per-views and stuff? They used to point out like either the number and or how much the gate was. There were some pay-per-views where they did that. And Hunter was doing it. Remember, we even criticized it. You didn't mention how many people were in the building, but you talked about how much money the event drew.
Bianca Belair turns up and, music plays. Her dress is the largest blue poofy dress I've ever seen. She then removes it to reveal she's got a belly full of baby. Bianca says we need to add one more to the attendance list, which kind of threatened to me that she was going to give birth right there and then. It's like, here we go. Here's one more for the attendance. Count it.
Okay, you're Mr. Literal today, aren't you? With the quotes and everything else. It was nice. It's clever. It was cool. It was a fun moment. I mean, I when she came out, I was like, okay, is she going to co-host or be a GM or something? It was going to be some other announcement, but it was done well. And everybody seemed generally happy. If they started booing, I was like, oh man, all the hardcores really did buy tickets. You're booing a baby before it's out of the womb.
Hey, they should name it Tony Garea. Just because I went, hey, then. That's what I decided.
Good Lord. Oh my God.
Okay.
Can you imagine a little Garea running around?
Sunset flipping. His classmates.
Sunset flipping in kindergarten. Yeah.
Right then. There's a Street Fighter trailer. Any comments on it? Do you think they wedge Cody in a little bit more? Because they will do that for WWE. They'll give like a WWE-centric trailer for certain things, where if someone's like Naked Gun or something, for example.
Yeah, I watched the original trailer, and it's funny how Cody, even in that one, was featured more. Roman Reigns was just on the fighting stage or whatever, did a move, and that was all he was in. But Cody had at least 2 or 3, and he had a line towards the end, and that's where the trailer on the one outside of WWE ended with him saying something. Mm-hmm. I'm not a huge Street Fighter fan, but it looks like they did justice to the video game.
Yeah. It's a shame Kylie Minogue's not back as Cammy. All right, then. Let us go to the main event of the evening. Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton. There is a promo video. Cody talks about Randy. This is back in like 2011 or whatever.
Say it right. Say it correctly.
Randy Orton.
There you go.
And Triple H was Randy's mentor. And immediately I was thinking, they've mentioned that right there, and all I was thinking of, wouldn't it make all the sense in the world that it'd be Triple H as the mystery caller, or nobody, or whatever? Ted DiBiase Jr. was in attendance, would you believe, at WrestleMania yesterday.
Did he tell everybody, 50,000 people, that Jesus loves you, brother?
He did, yeah.
And sisters.
He did. There's gonna be one more person in attendance for
Did
Jesus'
they
love.
did they yeah, they can count 2 more in attendance with the handcuffs on the wrist and the legs, the shackles.
He
But,
was actually with his lawyer, by the way.
no!
He actually brought his lawyer as his guest, yeah.
Oh my goodness. But they showed him in Ted DiBiase
I don't
Jr.'s
think they
in
showed him. I don't think they showed him, no.
Okay. Can you imagine? TK don't care, right? They give 0 Fs. Like, look at over here, brother.
Oh, dude, they would, if he was in prison, they would have had him, like, live from thinking like Tiger King or something. Okay, Pat McAfee is introduced first. Many middle fingers. Wade and Michael Cole argue on commentary that Pat's inclusion has created buzz for the show. Has it created buzz for the show, or is it created buzz for him?
For him. It did not sell one more ticket having Pat McAfee in the spot he's in. That's my belief. But I still stand by. I think I did see one clip where he was talking about it, and they cut to like AJ Hawk or something, and you could just see the people on the show are like, "All right, when's Pat going to stop talking about fake wrestling so we can get back to the real sports?" That's them saying it and thinking it, but I can tell.
Randy Orton's entrance, like the 3D Viper, I was actually thinking because it's just on flat screens, but they've done such a good job with the graphics of it that I thought it was like an overlay that they'd added on, not in post because it's live, but when they do the 3D graphics, like Roman Reigns' logo or something. I thought they did the same thing with Randy, and then he walked in front of the snake. I was like, man, they did a great job with that graphic.
Yeah, they do really good job. It's scary how some of the stuff can potentially eventually look real. But I remember Punk and Randy talked about their match or one of Randy's matches at WrestleMania on that ramp, but the snake looked like a sperm, and they joked about it.
So the 3D Viper, of course, crowd audio. They're monkeying with that audio, man, because those fans was singing that song like you wouldn't believe, and then you couldn't hear it the first half. Then the chorus, you could hear it loads, and then it dipped down again, then up again, then down again, then up. It's like someone in audio couldn't make up their mind whether to kind of just accept that was the response or not. For me, I don't know if that's something you picked up on.
Yeah, it was DJ Jazzy Def has been an icon. He was at work. It's funny how they try, and this is a small example, but they try to control every narrative of everything to a point where things like that are super noticeable. And they don't just organically let whatever just lay out during Randy's. They're so afraid, I think, that Randy was going to be cheered, and their fear was very, very warranted.
There's no commentary at all over the entrance, which is also an interesting directorial suggestion, because Randy was walking. That's the slowest I think I've ever seen Randy Orton walk as well. So he was soaking all of that up. The commentators didn't say it for like 3-4 minutes. Pat then also does the pose with Randy, and that sort of gets Michael Cole and sort of stirred up again as well. Then Cody's entrance, it was kind of the same as Tiffany Stratton's last year, except for the hologrammy kind of thing. And because she had like the Barbie boxes, and was she in the middle one, I think, on the stage last year?
Yeah, they recycled those. I think they're the same exact ones.
Yeah, they might as well be, because there were like 4 mannequins in boxes. Would it be good? What was she called? Samantha in Sex and the City. What's she called? Kim Cattrall. Have you ever seen Mannequin?
Oh yeah, Mannequin. I have seen that with Andrew. I forget his name. Andrew McCarthy. Yeah, definitely.
So anyway, loads of stuff from Cody's past, I guess, old outfits and stuff. Then it would intersperse with like these like brief. It was almost like they faded in, like I remember this kind of thing. And then after a few of those, from like Stardust and what he's dressed like now, and then he comes up from the stage with the golden mask. You can hear them boos already. You could hear those boos coming. I think we've mentioned this before. Why does WWE push water uphill? Randy was getting cheered, Cody was getting booed. You ain't gonna change it.
It's a very weird spot. I mean, maybe Cody just says, like he said in AEW, I will never turn heel. And that's where we're at. That could also be a layer in the contract, possibly, to make sure that he's always going to be that. But definitely, and the way the match was booked, I thought there was going to be some sort of double turn. That was such a weird, off-putting match. It was a good match, but what's the story you're trying to tell? you gave Randy, I can't do it, Orton. You gave him more sympathy than any babyface that was on the card earlier. What was going on there, dude? Did I couldn't wait to record with you because I was like, am I hypersensitive to this? Am I imagining like how weird and inverse this whole thing is right now? And Cody's like thinking like, am I going to be vicious? Yep. Jeff Farmer, I'm going to be vicious. And Randy's bleeding and they have to fight through a back injury early. Like, what is going on?
Let's do it in order then. Pat whacks Cody with a microphone before the bell rings. Then he tries to attack Cody, but then he kicks Pat in the gut. Pat takes the funniest rolling back bump since Batista. Do you remember that one where he kind of like did 3 steps and then jumped backwards?
Yeah, it was like wrestling school practice.
I really liked it though because it really made me laugh. But he just like folded up and rolled backwards.
I don't think you're supposed to be laughing in this spot.
No, you weren't there. For the 3rd time tonight, the announce table comes into play. Then Jelly Roll turns up. I told you he'd turn up. Then he I wrote splash, but he actually elbowed Pat through the table. Kelly then said, who the hell's Kelly?
Kelly.
Dude, I'm sorry, it's my autocorrect. So I was writing all these notes. Anyway, Jelly Kelly, that's what it is. Jelly says
Kelly Roll.
Yeah, Kelly Roll. That's his sister. Says government wrestling fans are the wants to see a one-on-one.
Patreon's going to have a heck of a time with these.
Man, I'm sorry. Dude, it's also correct. What can I tell you? Pat is stretched out. I genuinely thought that they were just like completely scratching off the Pat McAfee thing as a bad experiment. Then they were going to go with the plan they had a month ago.
Nope. As Jeff Harmer would not say, nope. I knew he was coming back out with the neck brace and being a ref at the end. And they were going to somehow allow the count. Very strange.
Oh, dude, you know what as well? Is that if he had to have the neck brace on. That's the kind of goofiness in wrestling I like. It has to be stupid. That's good silly for me. Is that bad silly for you?
No, it's not because your neck should be hurting. He dropped the elbow. Kelly Roll really dropped. Kelly Roll. That's what we're going to call him from now on. And it's going to stick somehow with me. But he did a really good elbow in the upper chest around the neck area, so it makes sense. And you know what's funny is that's probably a Pat McAfee call to do that because I remember he had a neck brace on doing a show years ago when he got attacked.
UFC. He was in UFC. Yeah.
But you see next to Vince and Hunter, right? That's how long ago it was.
I think he was with Nick Khan as well. But the thing is, even on camera, he was even taking a sip like that. And I just appreciate it. I think I did a video with Dutch, so it might have been before we were recording. And I said, bless Pat McAfee. He's more into it than most.
Isn't it sad that people like Logan Paul, IShowSpeed, and Pat McAfee seemingly put more effort in and are not checked out as much? I know where's the main roster down. They were all tired after that Hall of Fame speech. I don't blame them, but definitely good stuff.
So Cole adds that a report on Randy Orton's back may or may not be real. So that came out like a day or two beforehand that there were rumors that Randy's back was suffering. Pat gives the middle finger on the way out while he's on the stretcher, and then the bell finally rings.
That was an ode to Vince McMahon, by the way.
Was it? Oh, of course, Valentine's Day Massacre.
No, the WrestleMania 22 match with Shawn when he got stretchered out after he lost.
Is that what happened?
Or WrestleMania 21. Was it 21 or 22?
21. 2006, it was 22.
22 in Chicago. No, Vince wrestled Shawn. He did the thing where he hit him over the head with the Muscle and Fitness picture, and he did his pose. Then he dropped the elbow off the ladder with Vince having the trash can over him. He finally gave Vince probably an even stiffer kick than Rocky and beat Vince. Then when Vince was stretchered out all bloody, Vince stuck up the middle finger as he was going away. Not today, CTE, probably tomorrow.
Well, do you know who did it beforehand? Mass Transit in ECW.
So Vince stole it from Mass Transit.
Okay. But the match itself is what you'd expect and is rather slow. Fans are still into it, much back selling. I've got to say, Cody, I'll go through a couple more bits. Cody puts on a half crab with absolutely no talk whatsoever, which is where I started thinking that Randy Orton really did do his back in. Because that half crab was pitiful. And I was
Yeah,
thinking,
that
man, he's
was
really protecting Randy with this.
he's really protecting Randy. And the thing is, I'm looking at it and you can say, well, Randy's an awesome seller, which he is. He sells incredibly well. And as somebody who's going through another round of flare ups of back injury and herniated disc touching the nerve and a great deal of pain, Randy, of course, you're not going to take bumps. So that's where it's here or there. Let me explain. I could either look at it and say, wow, if Randy's back is not hurt, he is really representing somebody with real back pain and limitations and fighting through it. And even the little spasm. Randy had a couple incidences during this match where doing hardly nothing or taking a little step or just twerking or turning, back spasm. I sensed that. And to me, that almost felt like you said, is that where his back is really spasming? And he's got the adrenaline and he's fighting through. It was such a perfect mix where it fooled me as I'm going through the actual thing to say, outside of bumps, I was like, this dude is really hurting. And the fact that Cody went over kind of lent to me that Randy is really hurt. Just my guess, because something has to happen or he needs a couple weeks off to kind of see if his back's going to work it out and the flare up's going to go down. And that's that, because I would have guessed 10 times out of 10 that Randy was going over.
Hmm.
I don't know why, but I think there might be some credibility with this back injury, which he still looks and works better than people without a back injury.
I was really confused. I couldn't figure out whether it was real or not because, I mean, you know firsthand what a master Randy Orton is at this kind of thing because he actually thinks of the nuances. He probably didn't even think of the nuances. He just does them. He's instinctually making that because he's probably been through it as you have and currently are with back issues as well. He just knows. He didn't even have to think. He just knows how to do it every single time or every single step. I mean, there's especially the bit where he didn't turn around. The bit that I thought he was definitely, it may not be real, is where he purposely was about to do the spin around to do, the RKO pose where he's punching on his fist on the mat. But then he made a bit too much of a show to go, and then just, gently place himself kind of thing. And I thought, okay, then that was for the crowd, obviously.
Well, you also got to remember he has adrenaline. That's probably the only thing that got him through the match. He might have even got like an injection like I get. He might have gotten something a little bit more instant, a Toradol shot or something to get through the match. Because if you have back issues, like real back pain, I'm telling you right now, bump one, you're a turtle. You're not getting up. So I think that he had to do something if it was real to get him through the match, which some like Toradol, that's what football players do before a game or at halftime to get them through the game. So, and I don't fault Randy for saying I still want to do business. The reason why I feel like, and like I said, I'm guessing based off of what I watched, the fact that the match really didn't make sense from a babyface heel perspective, that leads me to believe that Randy was very limited and Cody literally had to get heat on Randy to get him through to the higher gear part of the matches. Did you feel that way?
Dude, I sensed that the crowd were losing it. They were losing the crowd. Like, there was a bit where Cody was beating on him for 5 minutes straight and Randy didn't even do anything. And it was complete inverse to what to expect. Do you think that was, at any point, will really, really show these fans and completely, turn this match on its head, expectation-wise? Or do you even think that maybe there could have been something that happened early in the match where Randy really needed some time to rest and Cody just had to beat on Randy a bit longer than otherwise would have made sense?
That was my guess. Yeah, that was my guess because it was like, unless you're turning Cody, because when I was watching, I was like, okay, are we getting the double turn? They're cheering Randy, they're booing Cody, and Cody is not doing anything to ingratiate himself. As a matter of fact, like you said, I go, yeah, stop. He's already dead, right? From this, like Cody was almost beating him so much, you had to cheer for Randy to continue the match and not just make it be like, dude, there wasn't even a part of me sometime during that where I was like, are they going to throw the X up? Like we were teetering between a bunch of different thoughts and feelings. And then, like, at the end, you get the finish. Cody goes, you get Pat coming out. And I'm like, okay, Randy's a heel again, I guess. Or is Randy going to turn, or is Pat McAfee going to turn on Randy Orton and go with Cody? There was so much in flux. Now, you get to a point where you're guessing and it's fun. Then you get to a point of you're guessing because you have so much confusion as the match is going on. And then, of course, we have the finish, the clean finish with Cody over Randy. But then we have a TV ending to the match. What I mean by that is Randy attacked Cody after the match, after the crowd had sympathy on Randy, and Cody had busted Randy open. And now Randy does the punt kick, which the fans explode for. They go banana, as Pat Patterson would say. And Randy's standing over Cody at the end of night one of WrestleMania, holding the title like it's the end of Raw or SmackDown. Did I get anything wrong?
There's more kind of thing because of like Randy was hitting a superplex and there were really tight shots, and then the back becomes the story, which it kind of confused me whether this was always meant to be the story or not. It made me feel like WrestleMania 14, Steve Austin and Shawn Michaels, where everybody going into it knew that Shawn's back was really bad. And I'm wondering if they would just put that news out to recreate some of that, intrigue. Will Randy even get through the match all of a sudden? But, if they planned this from beginning to end, it was really odd. And they kind of killed the crowd in the middle of it. And then also there was a double turn where Cody's very purposely. There was also a bit where Randy starts bleeding. And then the camera, zooms in, and then the entire crowd goes, oh, and then 2 minutes later, or a few minutes later, I don't know if it was after the superplex or whatever it was, it would have been after this. The camera then ends up on Cody, and you can see for a few frames before they cut the camera to Cody, is that someone threw a towel in for Randy to clean himself up.
They don't know what to do. You zoom in on that, and it supposedly adds another layer of danger to the match. And actually, maybe they wanted it wiped away because it added another layer of sympathy on the heel, Randy Orton. This was, if they booked this from beginning to end, this was like what'd be cool? What we haven't done in a while? What's never been done? And sometimes you should never do it because it didn't. And by the way, this is weird because they didn't even present it on commentary as Cody was really beat up by Randy Orton. He was beat bloody. Randy really went above and beyond to try to hurt Cody Rhodes. So now Cody Rhodes has no choice. Now I know they were trying to tell that a little bit with their body language and movements. But by the way, Randy never even begged off from Cody either. Did you notice that?
Mm-hmm. Dude, it was straight double turn. I honestly thought we were getting a double turn. Because when, Randy Orton was beaten down and, his back was bad, Cody never let up, never showed sympathy, always went full force, saw the blood, and then kicked it up another notch, which is, but kind of not in a babyface firing up way, more like in a sadistic way.
He was stalking his prey. He was vicious. That's vicious. What Cody was doing by just measuring him and hitting him was vicious. It really, I don't know what they're going to do after this and where they're going to go. Are they just going to forget it and they're going to go straight Randy Orton heel, Cody? Because what you've done now is you've actually made people want to cheer Randy. And even if you did after Randy got beat, which they popped for the finish, I'll give them that. After Randy got beat, he punt kicks Cody, which we haven't seen in forever, right? And the crowd exploded. That's the thing. The last thing you're left with is people cheering the heel, literally giving a concussion or brain damage to the babyface. Something's wrong.
We'll get to the punt in a minute. We have to still deal with the rest of the match. Do you think that they threw Randy a towel to clean up because the blood was not authorized?
That's interesting. I was looking at the close-up and I paused it a couple of times to see if he had gigged, meaning cut himself, or if he hard-weighed, had a little puncture or a little tear. I couldn't quite see where the cut. I know it was up here, which that lends me to believe sometimes that he did kind of poke a few times, because if he went across, it would be wider. Poking means you got like right here between the eyes. Did you kind of feel that way? There
Yeah, it
wasn't a
looked like right in the center he'd done it as well. Like right in the
like he
center.
did a poke twist. They
Yeah.
do a little U-shaped thing, and that way you bleed. Now, I don't think Randy had the aspirin or the 2 beers to thin it out to make it really a crimson mask. But to me, there was one of two things. They either cleaned them up because they got, oh, we can't show blood, although we did. And the second one was what you said. You weren't supposed to do that. Clean it up. And the person who zoomed in, you might be fired.
So the usual finisher kickouts, you know how it goes. You steal each other's finishers, they kick out, then you do your own finishers, then you kick out anyway. Yay boo spots when Cody pokes Randy in the eye, very specifically. And then Randy, a couple of seconds afterwards, RKO's Charles Robinson. Screwing up another main event is Charles Robinson. Good job.
You know what I would say? I would say this too, that no matter how much Randy bled, no matter how hurt his back was, if he couldn't even walk, the bloodthirsty, evil Charles Robinson would never throw the X up in a million years. He was
would have
taking
drank
great.
his blood.
I could see the pleasure in his face. He's like an energy vampire. He just gets off on, and he watches the show. There's your heat with Triple H, and always says, "Thanks for the shout out, buddy." I was like, "Is that what you call it?" I call it holding you accountable.
Randy tries to low blow Cody, but then Cody low blows Randy. Goes nowhere near his nuts. I mean, it barely goes past his knee. Like Randy did the leg pinch thing and caught him way too early, if you noticed that.
But that was the closest thing to Randy being a heel and Cody being a babyface in this match.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. You block the low blow, and then Cody, that's a babyface. You get provoked by the move, then you put the move right back in the heel's face.
Well, you can argue about that with the eye poke as well, because Randy poked Cody in the eye early. But was there maybe a bit too much distance between the eye pokes for it to be an eye for an eye, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. No, like the person at the COVID thing at the front, an eye for an eye. Screw, I still got to find that guy. But yeah, that's exactly it. But when it's spread out so much and you have a fragmented story going on throughout the match, even I forgot about the eye poke. You got to, like, what does Dutch say? You got to slap me across the face with it. You can't let me remember. We all have the memories of Goldfish right now in 2026. You have to group it together tighter.
Anyway, Charles Robinson lets down the match by going down to the RKO. Of course, Pat McAfee in a neck brace then turns up in a referee shirt, runs down, and then counts fairly, which is amazing. Yeah, what is it with heel referees? And they do a fair count. And also, does Ari Emanuel, has he imbued Pat with the power of an official to make this an official count?
I heard there was a quote in Variety magazine where he said he is the next Tommy Young.
He could be the next, maybe the next Tommy Gunn, the porn star. Cody kicks out anyway from this. Randy then RKO's Pat, and Cody retains over Pat. Well, because now Cody has beaten Randy, it seems that Pat McAfee is no longer ever going to be in WWE ever again per his own terms that he claimed on SmackDown the Friday before last. Do you think they're even going to hold on to that for a week and Pat's going to still be there? Because the original plan, so we understand, whether there was going to be Randy and Pat versus Cody and Jelly Roll in a mixed tag, but you know what I mean. Celebrity wrestler mixed tag.
Celebrity death match.
Yeah.
So they need to go. I don't know. Yeah, they've gone back on all that stuff. I thought Pat was trying to book himself out of WWE because he's so busy with everything else. He's just trying to make it happen. Maybe he just said that, but it wasn't part of what they were planning. Yeah, I think they're just going to forget. There's a lot about this show that felt like they were just trying to continue storylines for Raw instead of the climax and the finish of things, or Backlash now as well.
Well, that makes me wonder. Do you think that finish to have Cody actually win? Do you think something was said to somebody? Do you think Pat was sick of all the criticism and wanted to not do anymore? Do you think that those in WWE were looking at all the online criticism or even people who kind of guessed that it was going to be continuing through Backlash? They've more or less drawn a line on the Pat McAfee thing, it seems, because post show, Randy RKO's Pat? Oh no,
Well,
it was
no,
during the match, wasn't it?
during the
Yeah, I'm
match when he
sorry.
came out, he was after the count. He was behind Randy, got him,
Yeah.
Randy, got him, Randy, RKO, which is kind of once again, is Randy going to be a baby face? You know what's going on?
Okay, then we're going to talk about the post match in a minute, but overall WrestleMania, what do you think of as a show?
Like you said, not the worst, but nowhere near the best. Kind of it felt like a very long television episode. It
Yeah,
didn't feel like it didn't feel like business was being like the payoff. It didn't feel like a payoff of anything. It felt like a lot of stuff was going to be continued, maybe even as early as the next night with storylines, people interfering, or definitely the Raw after WrestleMania.
total bell time was about 88 minutes for a 4-hour show. So just shy of an hour and a half for a 4-hour show.
So the right for a 4-hour show. So well, no, more than 1/4. So 90 minutes of this, hour and a half. That's about the ratio of TV where they have 28 minutes of wrestling on an almost 3-hour show.
Yeah, it's not quite as bad as that. Okay, then, Stevie. So just before we leave it here today for the WrestleMania Saturday review, there was a what went wrong, and it was actually post Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton main event. There is pretty much one single move that people are talking about, and that is the return of the punt kick from Randy Orton. He's broke it back out after goodness knows how long retiring it. And it turns out that there was a reason it was retired in the first place, Stevie. So over to you. What went wrong?
Thank you very much, James. You used the word broke it back out. So broke might be a good word because it looks like he may have broken Cody Rhodes' orbital bone, correct? When he hit him with this punt kick, it was pretty rough. I'm going to play it right here in real time first. And we're going to look right here, and the fans are cheering for it. And yeah, that's an incredibly dangerous kind of punt kick in a lot of ways. I'm going to slow it down and zoom in on Cody so you can see what I mean. He's already bleeding pretty good. You notice he gets his arm out of the way right here. So
Mm.
Cody doesn't want to get kicked in the elbow, arm, shoulder area. Oh, the thing that happens here, like I said earlier, remember I said people say lay it in more, brother, at WrestleMania, make it look good. Man, I can't say that this punt kick is any less stiff or at least looks less stiff than other ones he's done. I know when he gave it to Vince, Vince told him just kick my head off, and he sure did. Um, but man, that is contact right there. Randy did pull up on it. It's not like he punt kicked him like McAfee used to punt footballs, you know? But what are your thoughts on this? I mean, it's definitely a concussive move. I have no doubt that Cody is just feeling it today for sure. But I can't say it's any that he took liberties or this is necessarily a what went wrong. Of course, the result of it, and we have footage of Cody in gorilla position. He kicked him right there. That's it right there.
Is that just too dangerous a move for anyone to do without like the shin pad deal on the boots?
I think so. I think the shin pad, like I used to wear them with bike shorts. Punk wears them. A bunch of people wore them at one point. It was for leg kicks, so it makes the sound, but you're not actually, just an outside leg kick, not one down, like at the knee area, up towards the thigh. But yeah, but Randy's not the type of wrestler to wear kick pads or any kind of shin guard. And here we are. I mean, do you think it's going to be rebanned off of this?
It's- Yeah, I think it probably will be, because if you're going to break it out after like 15 years or whenever you last did it, and the first thing that happens is it's not an orbital, because it's the orbital canal, but there's like a bone around the side that I cannot for the life of me find the number, no, the name of, which isn't as bad of an injury. It kind of recovers itself after a few weeks, although, will swell up. And Cody Rhodes' eye had swollen up completely while he was still in the ring. Because I was thinking, damn, when I first read about it, did they just get some quick makeup on him?
There it
To
is.
make it look worse, yeah.
Oh my God.
Dude, that's the Vader. Do you know what I mean? That's the Vader hamburger, I think.
Wow. Yeah, this is definitely, that is scary. He's kind of looking, am I wrong to say he's very glassy eye? There's only one eye you can see, but he's knocked out on his feet or on his knees right now. He definitely got his bell rung to a degree, at the very least. This is crazy. Can he even open his eye? Nope. Can't even open his eye. Look, he's blinking. Oh man. You're talking about right here. We'll back it up. This is literally seconds to a minute or two after it's done, correct?
Yeah.
So let's just call it maybe 1 to 2 minutes after Randy stands over him and goes. Your eye is swollen shut. Usually, you get a black eye, someone punches you, puffs your cheek out, does whatever, kicks you. The next morning, you wake up and you have that. This is a thing like get an ice pack on his eye because this thing is going to swell. This is not even the worst of what it's going to look like. Like today, dude, it's going to be swollen, purple. Where he kicked him here too on the temp. That's another thing, dude, the temple area. What if he catches them? It doesn't take a whole lot of pressure to cause a really huge issue medically if you get hit in the temple really, really hard. He's got to have a concussion.
Do you genuinely think this is the WrestleMania kind of thought process of just lay it in? It's the biggest show of the year. You might as well make it look good. Whereas otherwise, Randy may have been more likely to go for the top of the head or like the hair. Because because his hair stands up a bit. There's a bit of a grace period where it doesn't look like you've just whiffed completely and missed him.
Yeah, I mean, he could have did like you're talking about, kind of like the Kawada kick type presentation where he gets him across the forehead as he goes.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? If you're Cody told him probably late in, just make it look, he didn't want this. Nobody wants this. But what if he did kick him right across here? Then you have two black eyes and a broken nose and maybe a fractured skull. And I'm not laughing about it, but what can you do? I mean, Cody's been through the ringer. You're talking about the torn pec and the cage match with Seth Rollins. You're talking about other ways he's been busted open hard way. This person here is not a great EMT. This is where the ice pack needs to go. What are you doing? I know it's for effect, by the way, but he's got to have ice on that eye and it's still going to swell shut. Then you got to, dude, I'm going to say right here, just to let everybody know, because this is a thing I never thought I'd have to deal with. And I'm actually dealing with it this week. It's like I got more injuries than people at WrestleMania. I got something happen to my right eye this week. And you have floaters and stuff. And I
Mm-hmm.
obviously have cataracts from the antibiotics from the spine infection. I may have a slightly detached retina that was, my eye had been weakened. I remember in one of my last matches with PJ Hawk, I caught a kick, like a super kick type thing up here, and my eye had never been the same vision wise. Just a little something. I was like, oh, that's just kind of weird. It's getting to the point where the floaters are actually inhibiting my vision now. And we're not sure. We looked it up on ChatGPT. Is there a retinal tear that was over the course of time or some other weakening of certain ligaments or connections in my eye? What I'm saying is, the point of what I'm saying is, Cody needs to get that checked out to make sure his vision's not going to be impaired. His vision's not going to be affected, not only short term, but also long term. Basically, he has a chance of happening. And what it might happen to me is that Shawn Michaels thing could be a reality.
Hmm.
There's so many things with this laid in brother WrestleMania mentality that could cause Cody permanent vision damage. And I don't want to see that.
Now, with that, I'm not diagnosing this. I know from first-hand experience an injury very specifically to that part of the bone where the eye is, which is where I'd suggest that Randy kicked Cody. And it's not an orbital bone fracture or something like that. That's incredibly serious.
Orbital bones down here, I've had these on this part.
Yeah. I'm actually looking at a diagram now. I can actually change it over. So I'm sorry you can't see it, Stevie. But there is if I were to absolutely guess, and nobody wants my opinion on this, but it seems like where it's been kicked, it could be the zygomaticofacial forearm, which actually I'm going to switch back over. Which actually is the same bone that stretches like around the cheekbone about there, and then comes up to there as well. And I have, to my not credit, what's the opposite of credit?
To my discredit.
To my discredit, I've broken someone's eye there, that bone. It did recover quite quickly. And it was kind of the same thing, the eye puffs up and all that kind of thing. But it wasn't as bad as that.
Yeah, but at the same time, what we're talking about here, it wasn't as bad. I mean, this is
no, exactly. It's like I've seen that broken because I did it. I didn't mean to, but I did it. But the guy who did it to, his eye didn't swell up like that. So my worry is it's more serious than that. And if it's more serious than that, then who knows how long Cody's going to be out for.
Yeah, as we look at this, I'm going to go back to it on your screen. As we zoom in on this, look at where the actual swelling is. It's almost this cheekbone right there. That's where I believe he got caught more than anything, which, by the way...
The maxilla, in fact.
Yeah, my eye did swell up to a degree and blacken on the Chris Masters thing, and then the Rob Van Dam, where I got my orbital bone broken twice. Say that quick, fast, 10 times with a Philly accent. This looks like he possibly broke his orbital bone with this. But that's the beginning of it, though, James. You know why? Because as I look at it, I'm like, what's the internal damage? Is there a detached retinae? Is there any kind of damage or tears in the eye muscle, the ligaments, the tendons, the capillaries? Is there some kind of thing where Cody's vision, the orbital bone and the break and the blood or whatever, but get him to a specialist to make sure he does not lose his vision in that eye. That's most important.
Okay, then I think on that, I mean, if Randy Orton's back issues are as real as it was being reported now, he's given Cody Rhodes. What the heck happens with the World Championship? Because now the number one contender and the champion may be on the shelf for a bit. So who knows what's going to happen?
Kelly Roll, new WWE champion.
Of course, why not? How silly of me. Give it back to Drew. He's just come off a loss.
Just give it back to him so he can lose a backlash to somebody else.
Right then, everybody, thank you so much for watching. We will be back again either tomorrow or the day after. It's on various circumstances between the two of us. If we're going to be able to fit it in, we'll do our best. But we will be doing a full episode on WrestleMania Sunday, and we should, no absolute promises, also have a regular episode as well up on Thursday with the fallout of WrestleMania and all the news as well. So thank you very much once again for watching. We're not doing the Patreon thing on this one, so we will just see you again tomorrow or the day after for WrestleMania Sunday review.